The alarms were already screaming when I reached the cargo shuttle and the door was still sealed. My name is Vantic Os, third-rank raider on the ship called the Hollow Tide, and on that day I expected a simple job. Break the lock, take what we needed, leave before the colony garrison could respond. Nothing about it felt simple once the door opened. 6 aid workers sat pressed against the far wall, hands raised, faces pale with fear. That part was normal. I had seen it 100 times. What was not normal was the woman sitting apart from the others on the floor with her hands folded calmly on her knees, watching us the way a person watches weather roll in. Not afraid, not defiant, just watching. Her name was Naomi Farrow. Her identification listed her as a logistics coordinator for a relief convoy heading to the Varan colonies. Unarmed, untrained as far as any scanner could tell. My commander, a hard and impatient man named Threx, took one look at her and smiled the way he only smiled when he thought he had found something valuable. A human hostage. Not cargo, not supplies, a person, and humans did not leave their people behind. Threx believed this would be worth more than everything else in that cargo hold combined. He ordered her moved to the aft hold and the shuttle released, empty, back toward the garrison, carrying nothing but our demand. I expected panic once the door sealed behind her. I expected pleading or anger or the long silence of someone trying not to break. I got none of it. The first thing Naomi did, once the guard named Dural brought her a ration and a cup of water, was ask him whether the recycled air on our deck was always this dry, because it would start irritating his breathing passages within a day, and there was a simple filter adjustment that would fix it. Dural stared at her like she had spoken in another language. Then he wrote it down. I told myself it meant nothing. Fear makes people talk, I thought. She would settle into terror soon enough, the way they all did. I was wrong, and the wrongness kept unfolding, day after day, in ways I did not have a name for yet. By the third day, she knew the names of everyone stationed near her hold, not because she demanded them, but because she asked and remembered and used them correctly the next time she saw them. She thanked Dural for the water every single time, without exception, as if gratitude cost her nothing and mattered anyway. She never asked where we were taking her. She never asked what would happen if the ransom went unanswered. She asked about people's routines, their aches, their small daily troubles, and she answered with things that actually helped. By the 5th day, I stood at my post outside her hold longer than my rounds required, just to understand what I was looking at. She was not performing calm the way frightened captives sometimes do, wearing a mask that slips the moment they think no one is watching. There was no mask. There was nothing underneath to slip. She was simply, completely present, the same person whether we were looking or not. I brought this to Threx directly. I told him she was not planning an escape, that I had watched her for 5 days and seen no calculation in her at all. He laughed at me. Everyone is planning something, he said. He had commanded raiders for 11 years and trusted that rule the way other people trust gravity. I did not argue with him then. I only kept watching, because something about her unsettled me more than any struggling prisoner ever had. By the 8th day, half the junior crew had started finding reasons to pass her hold. A jammed ration dispenser. A disagreement over duty shifts that nobody wanted to bring to the ship's arbitration officer because he only ever sided with rank. A homesick young recruit who had not slept properly in a week. They brought these small, ordinary troubles to a woman locked in our hold, and she gave them calmer, clearer answers than anyone else on the ship, and she never once turned what she learned into leverage. She never once said, "Help me and I will help you." She simply helped every time without asking anything in return. I could not make sense of it. A prisoner with that much information about our schedules, our tensions, our weaknesses, could have built herself a bargaining position within days. Instead, she spent everything she learned making the people around her marginally less miserable, for no payment at all. It is a strange thing to try to hate someone who is only ever kind to you. I found I could not manage it, and neither, it turned out, could most of the crew. On the 12th day, I asked her directly. I stood outside the hold and asked why she was doing this, expecting at last to hear the strategy underneath it, because humans were famous across every system for strategy. She looked genuinely puzzled by the question. "You didn't capture a weapon, Vantic," she said. "You captured a person who decided not to be miserable at the people around her. That's the whole answer. I'm going to be here a while, and you're the people who are going to be here with me. I'd rather that be true kindly than not." I did not believe her. I told myself there had to be more, a plan waiting under the surface, patience as a longer kind of weapon. I kept waiting for the moment it would reveal itself, and it never came because I was looking for the wrong thing entirely. By the 15th day, the ransom demand had gone unanswered far longer than Threx expected, and his patience ran out. He ordered a harsher line taken with her, reduced rations, no visitors, a public show of authority meant to remind the crew, and her, exactly what she was worth to him and nothing more. He gathered the deck to announce it, expecting the usual quiet obedience. He did not get it. Dural did not reduce her rations. He simply continued bringing them the same amount at the same time without comment. Two others kept visiting anyway, quietly, during shifts when Threx was occupied elsewhere. When Threx pressed the point directly, standing in front of the full watch and demanding compliance, the silence that answered him was not open defiance. It was something harder to punish than defiance, because defiance gives a commander someone to make an example of. This was an entire deck simply declining together, without a word of protest, to take part in treating her badly. Threx had built 11 years of command on fear and leverage, on the certainty that people would do as they were told if the alternative cost them enough. In that silence, he discovered that neither fear nor leverage works on people who have already decided on their own that kindness is worth more than either one. I watched him try 3 more times over the following days to reassert control, and each attempt landed softer than the last, because the ground under his authority had shifted without him noticing it happen. He could threaten a person into obedience. He could not threaten an entire crew out of a decision they had made quietly, individually, and all at once. We reached the Varen gate 9 days later. Threx gave the order to hand her back unransomed, not because he had grown merciful, but because he no longer had a crew willing to guard her properly, let alone carry out a real threat against her if it came to that. I volunteered to fly the return shuttle myself. I told myself it was only to see the exchange through properly. I think now, it was because I wanted one more conversation before she left. She thanked me for the ride. She used my full rank correctly, the way she always had, and reminded me, gently, that Dural's breathing passages would improve if I pushed the air filter request through requisitions before the recycled air got any worse. Then she stepped out into the garrison lights, and she was gone, and the hollow tide turned back into the dark carrying a crew that no longer fully trusted the man who commanded it. I have served on raider crews for most of my adult life. I have seen prisoners broken by fear, and prisoners who broke the people holding them through pure stubbornness, and prisoners who gave nothing at all no matter what was done to try to move them. I had never once seen a captive dismantle an entire chain of command without lifting a hand, without a single threat spoken aloud, using nothing but a plain and relentless decision to treat everyone around her like a person worth being decent to. When Threx finally admitted, weeks later, that she had been dangerous after all, I did not argue with him for the first time since I had known him. He had simply never imagined the danger would look like patience, or that it would move slowly enough to change an entire crew before anyone thought to stop it. I think about her sometimes, out on long patrols when the ship is quiet and there is nothing to do but watch instruments and wait. I think about how she never raised her voice, never made a single demand, and still left more of a mark on the hollow tide than any fight ever could. I think, too, about Dural, still bringing up that requisition request every cycle, still asking after her, still remembering her name the way she once remembered his. Some weapons are loud enough to hear coming from the other side of a battlefield. Hers was quiet enough that we let it inside our own walls, gave it a place to sit, and thanked it for the company, and only understood what it had done to us long after it was already finished.